Okay, well, now we're going to switch to science for a second. We're going to go to Zeke Emanuel. And why are so many scientists Jewish? And is there something about Jewish culture and history that leads to a propensity for innovation? And while we're at it, what role does creativity have in science? Oh, in 4 minutes.
I'm not a scientist. I gave that
Well,
up.
you're a doctor, a physician.
But that's, I'm not a scientist. I did really give that up. I spent 2 years in the lab and I hated it, so I decided it wasn't creative enough, actually. It's a lot of drudgery of doing experiments over and over again until you got them right. But I would, first of all, I think as I said when you invited me that I felt out of place. And if you look at all of the people to my right, they're all artists in some way or another, right? Dance, poetry, cartoons, and music. And at least in my brain, when you talk about creativity, it's in those spheres and not in the other spheres that I do more, which is mostly arguments. And a lot of science is about arguments, trying to explain how things go together and arguing back and forth about this explanation being better than the other explanation. And at least I think there are two things about the argument side of the world. One, you have to sort of build it up and have it airtight. You have to have a logical explanation. So there's a certain kind of rigor to the process. But then, of course, the people who are better do a better job of it or have some, whatever this breakthrough is, and don't take what's been told to them as given. And I think that's, if I had to say, at least in my field of bioethics, and that I think is probably the single most important thing. Whatever's given you have to assume is not right in some way. And your job is to figure out how it's not right and to give a better explanation, argument, conceptual framework, however you want to talk about it. And so I think that's, if there's any creativity on my side of the divide here, it has to do with that. Whatever's given, that already has to be wrong in some way, and your job is to show how it's wrong and what the better alternative is.
How does that connect with Jewish culture at all?
I think, at least the Jewishness I was raised with, it was always arguing. So, nothing was accepted. And so it was it really is inherent. And, at least the limited amount of Talmud study I did is, just because some big rabbi said it didn't make it right. If you had a better view of it and you could make these things sit together better, you could offer it. And
so nothing's sacred to argument when argument's involved.
In some ways, right. Whatever's given is not final. Nothing's final in that regard.
Mm-hmm.